I'll be right back.
All right.
Looks like we're live, correct? Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone on the team. Thanks, everybody from the collective who's able to join us. I'm going to take a few quick seconds to send the link around. All right, it's going out on Portfolio. It's going out on Twitter. It's going out on Telegram. All the fun stuff. We're going to go out on Discord. Sweet. So hopefully everybody's going to join us now. But again, thank you everybody for coming. We're going to start things off here in just 1 minute while we give people a time to join the live stream. But this is a good chunk of the Enigma core team and a good chunk of the collective who was able to join us on the call this morning. It's our second open community call after the one that we did in November. So we're excited to give you some updates on the progress we've made since November, including the launch of Network Testnet in December, which we're all very excited about, and also a lot of improvements and progress on Salad, which we're excited to present on as well. We released a blog post about it yesterday, but we'll be going into a little bit more detail on this call. With all that said, James, I think you can go ahead and start sharing the slides, and then I'll hand things over to Guy. Awesome, that looks good. Let's make sure that everybody can see that okay, and if so, let's get right into it. Looks good. I think, Guy, we can kick things off and just let James know when you want to advance the slides, but otherwise I think we're all set to start.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first open community call for the decade. Very excited to be here. James, maybe let's go to the next slide. Okay, we have quite a few things on the agenda today. I'm going to give a quick overview and welcome notes. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing on the development front in the last couple of months since the previous call. There's been a lot done on that front. Then if you've been running nodes or are interested in running nodes, you're going to really want to pay attention to the node runner updates. Then we're going to move on to our product team. We're going to talk about Salad and transactional privacy a bit more in depth. We've seen a lot of engagement in that area. We do feel that this is one of the hotter topics that Enigma is currently working on. And we're going to move then to talk a little bit about our upcoming trip to ETHDenver. If you don't know, ETHDenver is one of the most important, might even be the biggest ETH global events. There's going to be hundreds or even thousands of developers hacking their projects throughout the weekend. Enigma is going to have a really big presence there, and that's coming up next month. And then finally, we're going to do the favorite thing for everyone, which is AMA, where you can ask all your questions. Next slide, please. So why Enigma? Why do we have, all of you, thousands of people in our community, dozens of people in the collective and the Enigma team? Why are all of us doing what we are doing today and have been doing for the past few years? Well, we simply put feel that the internet today is broken. The way things have evolved in the web in the last 2 decades is towards a point of significant centralization. Really, it's just a few organizations that own all our data, that control all our data. And as a result, we see surveillance, we see security breaches have become pretty much a daily news piece. And that is not a sustainable system. So what we want to do is we want to build a more decentralized internet that brings back people control over their data. And we fully recognize that blockchains are a step in that direction, but we also realize that it's an insufficient step on its own. Blockchain have significant usability issues, and the biggest usability issues relate to privacy and scalability. And that's exactly what we're trying to solve. James, next slide, please. So that's exactly what we're trying to solve. We've been working day and night to create a decentralized network for secure computation. Secure computation is really a place where you can run applications, run computations, store data with complete privacy and anonymity. And the way we've been building it, hopefully with a significant dose of scalability. And with that, we're really trying to solve the usability issues of the decentralized web, of blockchains. And we've done a lot in that front. So James, maybe let's move to the next slide, and I will pass it here to Victor. There's quite a bit on the development front that's been happening recently.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Victor Grauserat, and I'm the Director of Engineering here at Enigma, and I want to give you an update, a development update, because there's a lot of exciting stuff that has happened recently. So as you may know, our most important milestone for Enigma in 2019 was to deliver a network testnet by the end of the year. And as you already know by now, we did deliver on our promise right before Christmas, between the 19th and 23rd of December. So that was a great excitement for us. After undergoing an external audit in October and November, getting external validation that there were no high risk threads, and addressing the suggested improvements that we heard, we were ready to put the code to work on a live network. We chose the Ethereum Kovan testnet, where we first deployed the Enigma contract. We then deployed the key management node, which does three things. It runs the selection algorithm to choose which worker nodes get assigned to work on each secret contract, keeps track of the epochs, which are the time intervals in which these assignations to work on a given contract for each node remain constant, and manages the keys to maintain an encrypted state in the network between the worker nodes. So we let it run for a few hours, and we then deployed 3 bootstrap nodes, the 3 initial worker nodes that kickstart the network and that new nodes can connect to join the network. They also run fine for a while. And then we launch a 5th node, an external node like the ones that any community member or node runner would run to stake and participate in the network. Everything looked good. So then, well, prior to the launch, we had been coordinating with a dozen community members, some of which are on this call, and thank you for helping us troubleshoot the network and battle test it. I see Brendan, Dan, Ian, and Tariq. Thank you. And there were a few others that cannot make it today. So they assisted as beta testers of the initial release of the network. We released the code in the form of a Docker image to run an external worker, and they joined from all over the world. I count easily 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and North America. And so they joined, spinning up new nodes. In the following days, we had up to 5 additional external workers running by community members, for a total of 10 nodes running, which is a sizable number for the very, very first live network. So we deployed a couple of secret contracts, including the one for Salad. We deployed the Block Explorer, powered by the graph on the back end, to monitor activity on the network, including transactions, workers, and epochs. and that block explorer is still live at explorer.testnet, no, the other way around, testnet.explorer.enigma.co. And after about 3 weeks of running these testnet and conducting various tests that we had planned, we started observing some problems that we were correcting on the fly. So a lot of PRs going in across the various repos and getting merged and so on. Yet as the number of improvements started accumulating, we got to a point last week when we thought it best to redeploy a new version. So we are currently in the process of doing so, where a new contract has already been deployed, and we're in the process of redeploying the nodes again. So we have to bring them down, repackage the code, bring them back up, and so on. And with that new testnet up and running, the next steps then we will be to deploy Salad again and the infrastructure needed for the Genesis game. So that's my development update, and I'm passing it on to John for updates on node runners.
Thank you, Victor. This is a great segue to general node runner updates. As Victor mentioned, there is going to be a new version of testnet deployment. Hopefully, before the end of next week, or sooner, we'll get it out. This again, in this new testnet, you'd be able to set up a node, test your infrastructure, participate in the beta testing of the network before the Genesis game. We expect this to take at least 2 weeks time for more testing, and then there will be another final deployment where we will have be running the Genesis game. We don't really have a date set up for that yet, but we will let people know at least 2 weeks in advance to so that they have enough time to package to run their infrastructure and test it. If you want to be on the safe side, you can start testing your infrastructure as soon as new testnet deployment, and once this new deployment takes place, we will provide you detailed information on how to participate in the testings and how to see whether you can run a node. We've also been getting questions about the testnet ENGs. We have or we had already distributed testnet ENGs for the initial version of the testnet test that Victor mentioned about. So it's already built. The ones we're going to distribute to participate in the Genesis game will probably take place either when we announce Genesis game or right before Genesis game. So again, you will have plenty of time to know and react to that. And then finally, there's been some questions about on our forum about the whitelist spots and how to choose them. As mentioned, we are choosing the top 30 workers by pure scoring, and then the other 20 is based on participation in network and participation in these unincentivized beta stages is a factor in people's favor to potentially earn a whitelist spot. This is not a guarantee, and we do not limit whitelist spots to 25,000 ENG as in the Genesis game. So that's those are the updates on the node runner side. Maybe let's move on to Salad. So we've gone over these slides recently, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but the problem of privacy on Ethereum is obvious. Guy touched on it. We've been talking about it for a long time. Mixers aim to break the link between the sender and the recipient address. Right now, there is one product on Ethereum mainnet called Tornado Cash. It's been, I think they just did their version 2 and, seeing some positive engagements. And then we're hoping to launch Salad as a superior product to Tornado Cash. The reason why we're excited about what we're doing with Salad compared to other solutions is because we can mimic the user experience of sending a transaction with Salad. whereas this is not possible in other mixers. James, let's move on maybe. And one thing I want to add is good UX is important because things like mixers work well if they're used widely, if they're used by few people because of UX challenges. Then you have problems with anonymity, which is the first place why mixers are made for. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but the point I want to highlight is if you look at the representation above, it shows how a mix happens on a zero knowledge based mixer, where there is actually this deposit amount where you'd see in the second dots, and then you have to wait, and then you have to withdraw. So there are 2 user interactions. The whole thing takes 24 hours. Whereas in Salad, because we're using the Enigma network as a sidechain, the user interacts with the product only once, where they do the deposit and send in the recipient address. The deposit is on Ethereum. The recipient address is sent to the Enigma network in an encrypted way. And when other people also send in their recipient addresses and we reach a quorum, the quorum is important, so we have some sort of anonymity set. The Enigma contract, the secret contract decrypts the recipient addresses, shuffles them, and then distributes back. So from a user perspective, you just did one transaction, and at a later time, you have your mixed tokens in the address that you provided. This user experience advantage has helped us significantly, has helped us get really good feedback from industry players' wallets. So now I'm going to pass it to Ainsley and maybe Tarek and Laura to talk about the work that we have been doing with MyEther wallet and MetaMask for Salad integrations and collaborations.
Thanks, John. So some of the big updates that we have is the advantage of Salad over other solutions is its usability. And so we're leaning into that and trying to make sure that it has the most easy to access interface that we can enable. And part of that is going to be exploring native wallet integrations. We're currently doing that with 2 different wallets that are very popular. MyEther wallet is one, and then we're also coordinating on some more future-facing issues with MetaMask Snaps, where we just opened an issue yesterday. The native MyEther wallet integration is well underway, and we're looking forward to that being wrapped up. In the next 2 slides, Tariq will actually walk you through what he's been building there. Another thing that I want to note is that Salad is really one of the flagship applications that Enigma mainnet's going to launch with. And so it has been a key part of the network tests that are being run on the protocol team. So that is one of its main roles in the network, in addition to the work that we're doing on making it usable and ensuring that it has is accessible to users when it comes out. Some of the work that we're doing with MetaMask, we get into more detail on a blog post that we just released yesterday. But we're working with Snaps on some of the fundamental issues that all mixers face, and that really touch on a lot on wallets. So that's going to be, how do you visualize an address that has been mixed versus an address that has not been mixed? How do you encourage good practices in users after the mix? How do you manage other types of usability issues that emerge specifically with post-mixed wallets? So that's stuff that's still R&D, but is coming along, and we think is going to be key to mass adoption of transactional privacy on Ethereum. So we're excited to be driving that conversation. Another thing that I want to flag very briefly before I hand it off is that we have a UX survey for helping us define some parameters of the mixer. So if you have any interest in helping us out there, I think that Tor can probably share the link with you. It's a very brief survey, just asks questions about transaction behavior and usage of Ethereum. So it will help us make some design decisions moving forward. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tariq, who can give a very brief overview of where he's at, how things are going, and just generally walk you through some of these screenshots. Thanks.
Thanks, Ainsley. Yeah, so Laura and I got started on this Mu integration. On the left slide, you can see Salad is a new dApp in Mu. So the standalone Salad integrates already with MetaMask, so that's the first integration we took on with Mu as well. On the right slide, you'd enter the address you want to deliver the funds to. Where you want the mixed funds to deliver. You see an error below if you don't have a valid address, or you'd also see an error if you didn't have the funds, that sort of thing. Yeah, and what's the next slide? Sorry. MetaMask issue. Yeah, so most of it's working pretty much exactly as standalone Salad does at the moment. So you can run them side by side, and the MetaMask signing works perfectly. But I'm currently working on getting the native Mu signing to work so that all other wallets work as well. Yeah, that's where I'm at this point. Yeah, not much more to add, I think. MetaMask managing key addresses.
Cool. So yeah, so we're just working, things are in progress there, but we're trying to develop that in public. So if you check out the Salad repo, that's public, and you can kind of see the open issues that we're working on resolving and follow along technically if you'd like to. And then here, again, this is just a quick screenshot of the issue that we opened with MetaMask snaps and some examples of the diagrams you've been using to work through hypothetical user situations with them. These are some of the things that I mentioned earlier around how do we manage these recipient addresses, how do we handle account abstraction, and how do we handle address generation. These are things that kind of come up for the user when they're dealing with transactional privacy via a mixer. So that's, I think, major Salad updates. So I'll pass it back to whoever is handling ETHDenver.
Me.
Yay.
Thank you, Tarek. That was awesome. So yeah, we are really excited about ETHDenver. As Guy was mentioning at the beginning of the call, it tends to be like the biggest Ethereum hackathon of the year, especially in the US. So a couple members of our team were there last year. There was super high engagement this year. I know they've expanded a lot of the plans for the hackathon overall. So we're sending a good portion of our US team there to help facilitate. We're also meta level sponsors this year for the hackathon, which comes with a few different capabilities, some of which we'll go into right now. But mostly we're just excited to get hands-on with so many devs within the Ethereum community. It's a really unique opportunity for everybody on our team, and it's a unique opportunity for the developers to also engage with our engineers, who are not always all in one place. We really enjoy being co-located and being able to work on things all together. So we're taking that advantage in Denver, and it's the 14th to 16th of February, so we'll be there. We're doing a technical workshop on Friday, the first day. So if anybody on this call is going to be in Denver for this, that's the best time to start learning more about the protocol and how you can get started with your own secret contracts. We'll also probably be doing some events earlier in the week. We're co-hosting an event with 3box as well on Wednesday night, sort of more casual, less technical, but also a really great opportunity for you to meet our team, for us to meet you, get a better sense of what you're working on. We're also, with the help of DAO Stack, looking into the establishment of Secret DAO, which should be fun. We're still working out some of the mechanics or how we want this to work, but we're really excited to see how we can kick this off even before ETHDenver starts, how we can run with it even after ETHDenver ends, sort of make the collective to start a piece of the Secret DAO. I can't go into too many specifics right now just because there's too many things that we've considered doing with this, but there's a lot of potential, I believe, in sort of merging how our community already works, some of the privacy focus of Enigma, and the power of a decentralized autonomous organization. So stay tuned for more on that. John, if you want to quickly say if there's anything you're particularly excited about use case wise around dApps we might want to see, that would be great. And then I'll hand things off to James when you're done.
Yeah, I think one thing that we're trying to do is, we mentioned Tarek has been working on the MyEther wallet integrations. One thing we're aiming to achieve in the next, I would say, 2-3 weeks is to get that documentation in a good situation, so that anyone who's doing any work on an Ethereum DeFi app can add Salad for transactional privacy. And other than that, we had seen great engagement from games such as the Cheese Wizards team last team. So I mean, we're excited in general. I think there's much to do in the DeFi space, in the gaming space. We will be sharing, as we usually do, a blog post before the hackathon to see what we can build with us. But I think one thing that's exciting about Sicket DAO is, and sorry if Tori, you've captured this, we choose winners in hackathons, right? They win prizes. With the Sicket DAO, we also have a way to hear your opinion on what projects should win. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, but one of the reasons why the organizers are spinning these DAOs up or encouraging this process is such that, you know, sponsors can engage with their communities on a deeper level. So that should be exciting, and maybe we should call for interesting ideas from our community before the hackathon as well.
Yeah, if you have an interesting idea, thank you, John, you should definitely post in the developers forum in advance, or maybe share it with us on Discord. You can see the pictures that are on this slide are from the successful hacks that we saw in Waterloo. They were amazing. It would be awesome to have the community submitting similar ideas or being able to vote on the winners this time around. So we're excited for that. Now I'm going to hand things off to James, who's the newest member of the Enigma team on the business and community side. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but we're super excited to have James joining the full-time team very recently, in fact, and he has a lot of responsibilities internally, like we all do, one of which is also helping us activate the community, resource the community, including and especially the collective. So he'll give you some updates about that, but also he should do a brief full introduction of himself, his responsibilities and experience and capabilities and favorite color.
Thanks, Tor. As you mentioned, I'm James Waugh, recently joined the core team focused on community growth and engagement. First things first, my favorite color is all colors. And I'm excited about the Enigma Collective because we're thinking about ways to decentralize Enigma over time. You know, we started more centralized and looking forward to opening it up and inviting participation from the overall community. So I've been working on developing opportunities for members of the collective to get involved. First, we've just announced the collective blog, which is led by Franklin and Henrik from the collective. And that will be a way for members to collaborate on research and actually write posts for either the official Enigma blog or maybe in the future a separate blog that lives elsewhere. Next, we're also coordinating a private machine learning working group, and Ansley's taking the lead on that and working with partners to develop questions and projects for using Enigma to enable private machine learning. We're also thinking about organizing a design challenge for promoting the Genesis game and eventually mainnet. The goal for that is to help visualize our network. And we're excited about getting all kinds of creators involved in the ecosystem. One thing I'm leading is the governance working group, which is a predecessor to the Secret DAO, I think, and we're exploring other projects and how they govern, maintain their shared resources, and that could inform the eventual Secret DAO, following ETHDenver. We're always, trying to hang out and connect and just have any discussion about ideas, projects you're working on. We're planning these bi-weekly hangouts for that purpose. We've been emphasizing forum activity. The collective is great at answering questions. Tariq and Laura have been very active, and others are sharing their input on the forum, which is great. It helps us know what to do and what to think about. And finally, event planning is a focus. We're hoping to create opportunities for members of the collective around the world to plan events and share news about Enigma. And really, it could be focused on any related topics. If you're interested in planning some kind of event, let me know. And with that, another benefit of being a member of the collective is that you get to join these community calls and ask questions directly. We've been collecting questions prior to this call, but I'll turn it over to the community and particularly collective members on the call for any questions you might have.
Cool. I think we can stop screen sharing as well. We'll just let our faces reign. Yeah. Or in absence of questions, I don't know if Henrik, you want to say anything about the collective blog, or Santiago, you want to say anything about machine learning that you're particularly excited about, but I'm just glad we were able to have a number of you be able to join us on the call.
I guess I'll ask, I have a question about the multi-worker setting. Are there any other details that you can give regarding the multi-worker setting that Guy mentioned?
Hey, Ian. No, not at this point. This is a huge architectural change. I guess there's two aspects to it. One of them is, I guess, more scientific in a way, semi-scientific, like what it means for incentives or what it means for like consensus, stuff like that. And there's the engineering challenge, like where exactly do you plug it in the system? We have not even begun to explore it like more in detail at this point.
Thanks.
If there's no other questions live on the call, I know James collected a few in advance. I've been collecting a few from YouTube on the call. I don't know where you want to begin, James, if you had a couple you wanted to bring up. I have 3 or so that I picked up from YouTube while we were talking.
Some of the questions we collected, we've intentionally answered in the slide. So if you wanted to start with the YouTube chat.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so one of the ones that I picked up is the test-eng available to anyone interested in running a node? I want to explain that one because I think we've been through it on earlier calls and it's in the secret nodes thing, but we held a snapshot previously. We held a snapshot in 2019 of mainnet ENG holdings, and testnet ENG is being distributed based on those holdings. That said, if you're interested in running a test node, TENG is available. Correct me if I'm wrong, John or Victor or whomever else, but yeah, you can run a test node, of course. What we're stressing is that the testing of the network is very important for us, and we want to make sure that that's as open to the community as possible so that it can be stabilized and stable when we eventually launch. So definitely post on the forum if you're interested in running a node in the short term. As we said, like there'll be another opportunity very soon that we'll post about to get connected with the test network. Any other details you want to add, John, about that?
Not really. I think you covered the points. I mean, yes, testing is important. We want more people to participate, and if you want to test, we'll facilitate.
Great.
And just one quick addition to what Tor said, because when we have this testnet running and we have Salad running on testnet, you could also use Salad as a user for which you will use some test-eng, and our plan is to set up a faucet where you can request small amounts of test-eng to run transactions on the network. The faucet will not drip enough tokens for you to stake in the network if anyone is planning to use that mechanism. as Tor said, if you are planning to participate in the Genesis game and stake in testnet, the only way to do that is with the tokens that will be distributed as per the snapshot that was conducted in September, because the amount of tokens is much larger than the ones that you'll be able to get from the faucet.
Great. Which leads nicely into another question, which I think we've somewhat answered, but like the relationship then between the ENG token and the mixer right now. I think that answers it, but maybe, yeah, to say like that relationship between how you can use test ENG and the salad mixer, somebody was asking.
You need anything else, or that's
I think that might
okay.
cover it. I just want to make sure that we highlighted that. Another question about salad though is whether we're looking to, the question was like if we're working with any other wallets or we're looking into any other wallet integrations. So maybe this is something, Ainsley, you want to comment on.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I think that, as John mentioned, one of the goals of our initial integration work and handling it internally, like with Mu, MetaMask, and so on, is so that we can streamline that process. So if other wallets want to integrate with Salad, we've kind of gone through this process with a couple different providers, and we can kind of standardize that. I think that once we finish this first Mu integration that Tariq is working on, Tariq and Laura may be able to then kind of focus on putting together an integration guide so that it's more of like a standardized process for wallets to do. So we're kind of working out the kinks now so that things can be smoother, because I think we personally would rather more interfaces use it than fewer, and kind of don't have like a real strong preference about which ones that is. I think one of the exciting things for me is applications using it as opposed to simply wallets, because I think that's very interesting as well. That will probably be the next major step. But we'll also kind of launch with a standalone interface too. So we're kind of gonna move forward on all fronts and see which gets the most traction, which is easiest for users, and which contributes most to liquidity in the mixer, because that improves the privacy overall. So I hope that answers the question.
I think it's a great answer.
And I will add there are other interested parties in looking into salads.
One more question around more the network itself. We just asked on YouTube whether who wants to give a brief description of how remote attestation works in the Enigma network.
I'll jump in. Remote attestation is currently a two-step process at Enigma. So there's remote attestation when you register. That involves contacting Intel servers, but that only happens once. And then there's remote attestation going forward after your worker has been registered, and that only touches the Enigma network. So the original remote attestation, the way it's done is when you launch a new worker that registers into the Enigma network, that worker basically just go through, just uses Intel's APIs inside of the processor, inside of the enclave, to generate what's known as a quote. It's basically some kind of proof. And that proof, one step before, what happens inside of the enclave first and foremost is we generate a new key, okay? That key is then wrapped in something that's called a quote. A quote is essentially a proof that is sent to Intel servers for remote attestation. It's a signed proof that Intel can attest that this is a genuine SGX enclave. At that point, the signed proof, which is called a report, is sent to the Enigma contract on chain, where it is verified on the Enigma contract on the Ethereum chain. So it's completely trustless in that front, in that form. It validates that the actual Enigma code generating a new key was properly generated, and there's a valid remote attestation approved by Intel. That whole thing is then registered on the Enigma contract for future use, including the new signing key that has been generated. And then going forward, the remote attestation process is very different. Now, any operation that the worker does doesn't need to touch Intel. Instead, simply on the Ethereum chain, our contract will make sure that every computation, every interaction, pretty much everything that the worker does is properly signed by this generated key. And because we know that this generated key was generated inside of an enclave, then that cannot be tampered with.
To build one more detail. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Guy.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, to build on one more detail on what Guy has explained, Intel offers this remote attestation service, but puts a very high requirements on who can interact with that service. So it is not viable for any one member, any node in the network to interact directly with Intel. So part of the infrastructure that Enigma runs is a proxy that Intel allows us to connect, or we have gone through the verification and authentication requirements with Intel so that Enigma can query the Intel servers, and we set up a proxy where any node in the network that will go through the process that Guy has described will connect to this server that is part of our infrastructure, and the server just forwards back and forth those requests to Intel and back to the network. And because those quotes and reports that Guy mentioned are signed, it's impossible for the proxy to do anything wrong or alter any of the contents of the quote or the report, because otherwise they wouldn't be valid.
Thank you guys for that level of detail. One more question, more on the business development side, whether we're having any contact with companies or developers at companies that are thinking through use cases or want to play with the testnet. John, I don't know if there's any comments you want to make here.
Can you repeat? Yeah, I understand the question, but I'm just trying to make sure.
Just whether we're having any contact with companies or developers at companies who are interested in Enigma, want to be testing out the testnet, have been building like interesting use cases with the testnet.
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of interesting use cases and collaboration ideas. I'm going to pull something up so I can actually answer this question a bit thoroughly. Well, so 1 second. Well, we spoke about, so on the public blockchain ecosystem, there are certain access control related or use cases that we're seeing where in terms of access control, I mean, say you have digital content and that's stored somewhere, it's encrypted, and someone pays for that content, and when the payment happens, now there should be encryption, decryption of the encrypted file that the purchaser has purchased and be shared with them, right? So access control in the context of digital rights management, this is somewhat similar to a dead man switch idea, but there's an Israeli company called Tukey with whom we are trying to scope this out. Right now, they are waiting for us to be on multiple testnets to move forward with that. But this is something that they're interested in. Some DeFi apps want to look into integrating Salad more towards the summer of this year. We have recently been exchanging notes with Bloom, who looks into credit scoring. So that's taking place. So those are some projects, I would say, in the open source blockchain ecosystem. We had a good conversation with Consensus Healthcare team around machine learning in our contract. So that is that's one of the reasons why we're trying to prioritize this machine learning working initiative, have them be part of it, and then push that. Also, there's been a couple of enterprise, let's say, conversations, because these move very, very slowly on, like, let's say company A has a data set, company B has a data set, and in the two data sets, there's a common denominator. Say it's like a, it's I don't know, credit card number. And then, like, using this common denominator, how can we merge these two data sets that remain in silos and run an analytics on them? So that's been an interesting area. However, one thing that I am seeing on the enterprise side is like we're an open source project. We encourage people to come and build things with what we have. Enterprises don't work that way. They're used to, like, having people build things for them. So like, when I've personally seen, when I say to people, hey, we have this Rust contract, it's open source. Like they look at me like I'm I'm not speaking their language. So that's one thing that I think it's interesting to share. But yeah, so those are the kind of areas that we're seeing interest in.
Awesome. Thorough. Thank you. And I'm sure we'll have more details like when we can be specific. But for now, I think that's a very good overview for how we're approaching it and the kind of contact we've had with larger companies. We got time for one more question. I'm pulling again from YouTube. It's something we've touched on a bit in the past, but maybe we can speak about it at a high level. Maybe you, Guy. Are we planning for Enigma to be able to work with other smart contract platforms apart from Ethereum? Or at the very least, like, how did we think about this when we were making the determination to work with Ethereum inside the public blockchain ecosystem?
I'll answer the second question first. So deciding to work with Ethereum was honestly a very easy call. Let's face it, most of the development ecosystem in public blockchains is centered around Ethereum. So that's again, that was a clear choice. Also, our infrastructure is tightly integrated with Ethereum, although that is of a lesser concern. Like, we would have adapted for whatever the market demands. As to other chains, we have started exploring with interoperability projects like Cosmos and Polkadot, the idea of integrating to other ecosystems. I'm going to share two things. First of all, the way they've developed it is not too different than how we were thinking about developing it and how we developed it on Ethereum. So it seems that there's definitely our architecture lends itself pretty well to extending to other chains. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that their APIs are still in flux and not completely complete. So in any case, it might be beneficial for us to wait for a bit if we want to integrate them. But long story short, we are looking into this. We definitely see this as a possibility, and we've started to throw ideas around about what it would look like from an architectural and product perspective. All of this looks very promising, but I would say it's still very exploratory.
Awesome, thank you. So I want to thank everybody who showed up to ask their questions on this call to get our updates, and I want to thank everybody in the collective who attended live and is still attending live. I want to thank everyone who couldn't make the call for all the effort that they've been making on a number of different amazing projects. I want to thank everybody on the Enigma team who made time in their incredibly busy schedules to come and participate on this and with the community directly. I'm just going to leave us with a few calls to action for the community if you want to stay in touch and continue hearing more about these projects or maybe contributing yourself. Definitely keep track of our blog, which is blog.enigma.co. We publish things all the time about updates about the project, including yesterday, a great update on Salad that was published. We're going to post a recap of this call like we did for the November call as well on the blog. You should definitely join the developers forum, which is forum.enigma.co. If you have questions that we didn't get to on this call or that you still have, please post them there and we'll get to them. The forum and the Discord is the other place where a lot of members of our development team are most frequently active. So if you go to enigma.co/Discord, that'll send you the link to get straight over to Discord. Definitely, if you're interested in the collective, if you're interested in participating in these projects or on these calls in the future, go to blog.enigma.co/collective. There's a lot of information there about how to get involved with the collective, and you can get up to speed with all the amazing work that James has done to help support that group and all the things that we're going to be doing in the future. Maybe some more information about Secret DAO will come soon. So definitely keep an eye on all of that. Look for those links to be posted in the recap post that we'll be making. This video will also live on YouTube, so you can rewatch as a live stream. It should be there in perpetuity, so feel free to check it out, rewatch, see all your favorite faces again. Otherwise, thank you guys so much. Everyone who's watching, everybody on the call, have a great rest of your week, and we'll have more for you soon. Cheers.